How about now? You ready now?
Didn't I say always? Always ready. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Hmm. What now?
All right. Long overdue.
Mm.
Are we a week late on this?
I think we're two.
2 weeks late. Oh my gosh.
Maybe 10
Wow.
days. Maybe 10 days, not that bad.
We got caught up in things. I think we had the goal of doing a weekly message to everybody about field work from the field. And
Whoa, no. I think we
no?
had a goal of a weekly message to the team leads.
Okay.
Yeah, that didn't
All right.
happen either.
But we've had an idea for this video for a while to bring us into
Mm-hmm.
the last few days. And now we're in the last week. We're in the last week of this election, and we've got some thoughts. We got some guidance for people who are volunteering with us in the next 7 days for
Six.
this last
Yeah.
trip. Six, is it 6 days?
I think it's seven if you count this one. It's next Tuesday, right?
All right.
Yeah, I know.
So
And you can tell by how slowly Charles is talking that we are very, very tired. Where are you right now?
I'm in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
I think it's Wilkes-Barre.
No, no, no. I think it's Wilkes-Barre.
Drop it in the comments, y'all. Which one of us is right? Because I
Yeah,
definitely Googled this.
yeah, that's right. So yes, drop in the comments with either a bear emoji or a berry emoji. Okay, to see which one's right.
Mm-hmm.
But you were just here, and I was just where you are. Where are you?
I'm in Tucson. Oh, how do you spell
Okay.
Tucson? Because we fucked this up too.
That's right. We've been spelling Tucson wrong. Yes, Tucson is not T-U-S. It is T-U-C.
UC. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
all
so
the
I'm here
random.
with the Arizona team. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
So we swap places.
Mm-hmm.
So that we can see more of you. Each of us could see more of you. Puya's with me, but also, some of this is us just collecting data about how this has been on the ground with our partners, with the voters, with the teams,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can constantly check and adjust on the system that we've built to lead
Yeah.
to the best result for this last week.
And to also give you the latest guidance as well. If we're not here on the ground, if we're not talking to our team leads, if we're not talking to you all, then we don't have the most relevant way of preparing people for what's coming up. So this video is going to be the last preparation tool, I would say, for people heading out this weekend with all of the things that we've learned and have told people while they're on the ground. Okay, so let's just get into it. Um, we're going to be talking about three things. So, heading into this weekend, if you're flying out Thursday with the Wisconsin team or Friday with everybody else, we're going to be going through what you can expect from your team leads and leadership on the ground, right? What kind of support can you expect from the field? And what can you expect from each other, from your fellow volunteers as well? And then the last thing is what can you expect from your doors? What kind of voters are you going to be talking to, the neighborhoods you'll be canvassing, that kind of thing. And we're going to do our best to get as relevant and as practical as we can. So hang tight for that. Okay, let's start with the team.
Yes,
So,
the team and
okay.
the leads especially.
Yep.
They're tired too.
Yes, listen, some of you new blood are coming up fresh off the plane, okay? Your eyes are bright and you're fully hydrated. You got a good 10 hours of sleep the last 3 nights to prepare you for this journey. And let me just tell you, your team leads are not that, especially if you're going to Arizona and Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
They just wrapped up another trip the day before. If you looked at our calendar, right? This trip currently is going to get wrapped up on Wednesday, and then they have a 24-hour break before they start like processing people and start getting to the next trip on Friday.
yeah.
So It's like a mega trip if you really think about it for these team leads. They're not going
Yeah.
home.
So Chuck and Vanessa in Pennsylvania, along with their new help, Victoria, and then um uh in Arizona, Janice and
Sherry
Sherry are
and
staying.
Nancy.
Nancy's staying and new help there. Nancy, and we'll talk about some of the sub lead help that we're getting. They're all staying and just driving to the next city. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, that all that to say that they need both your grace because they're tired, and a little bit of help here and there. So that's not really logistical help. It's just kind of wherever you think you can fit in, mostly with just managing your fellow volunteers and their various levels of need and expectations. Um, so, but there's an operational element of this that we are adding. So we've
Right.
augmented these teams. Mostly started last trip or this trip that we're on, but also is going to carry into the next trip with a bunch of sub leads. So can you explain who are these sub leads, where'd they come from, and what are they going to be doing?
Right. So not only are our team leads low on energy, right? They have also increased responsibility because the next weekend is our highest volume the entire year. Some of our biggest trips the entire year is happening this weekend.
Highest
So
volume of volunteers.
volunteers, correct. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're looking at 200, a little over 200 in Arizona. We're
Yeah,
looking at
like
about 100
220 or
in
something.
right, right. And we're looking at about 190 in Pennsylvania, right? Almost close to 200. We're just a little over 100, close to 150 actually in Wisconsin, right? So not only is the energy level low, but the volume is rising. So we are introducing this second tier of support we call subleads that take on certain functions of a team lead without being a full team lead themselves. So in a way, the team leads are delegating to these subleads what certain roles or just extra hands, to just manage the sheer scale of everybody. And you might see a sub lead helping you out with minivan, helping you out with Slack, answering general canvassing questions, right? So taking care of a lot of the training in the morning. They might be helping out at debrief. They might be helping out packaging lit, moving things around, making sure that we have the supplies that we need for the day, that kind of thing. There are also people that your team leads will point out in the morning, right? Like, this is X, Y, Z. You should go to them if you have a question. And really, please do. I think that like the instincts is that I'm gonna go to the most experienced person or the most person with the most expertise on the ground, right? I'm just gonna go straight to the team lead because they'll for sure be able to handle my question. But we can't have that for 170 people. So really do try to go to a sub lead first. And then if they can't answer your question, they'll direct you to someone who can. But that's like our way
Yeah,
of managing around.
yeah, and so these sub leads are not just like random people we've chosen. Um,
Right. Yeah.
Many of them are team leads. Some of them are full-time staff members, like Victoria. Yeah, Nancy just came from Montana,
Yeah.
team lead. I think Elizabeth's doing some stuff, and she's a Texas team lead. Shy was here, and
Yeah.
he's from Montana. Um, Jamie was helping out here, and he was in New York team
Right.
leading.
So we have team leads whose trips have wrapped up and they have availability and they're willing to step up this weekend. Yeah. And super volunteers who have been doing this for years and years and years as well, in some cases. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Action Academy students too, plugging in, and
mhm.
they've been with us for years. Folks like Hayden and Kyra and Sam, and other folks.
Exactly. So yes, we need your grace, we need your support. But please don't start asking, how can I help? Like all of that. If you've managed like a group or if you've, I don't know, been on a family vacation and a bunch of your family comes up and is like, how can I help? How can I help? And you're spending more time telling people that you're fine than actually doing your job, right? So just be prepared to step up if asked. And once again, support each other. Like our value on the ground is to look at our partner, look at our car mates, look at the person sitting across from us and asking, hey, you doing all right? Anything that I can help you with? So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and what that means though is that you actually have more resources for yourself as a volunteer. Before it was just two people or three people leading the team, and now you're going to have five people. If there's staff that are traveling, it's going to be, in Arizona at the beginning, there'll be 10 people or more on the ground. So you as a volunteer will get more people, more touch points where you can get some guidance, get some help, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Good segue. Let's talk about volunteers next, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you can expect from your leads and your team. Let's talk about what to expect from your fellow volunteers. And we kind of touched on this a little bit already, which is that your fellow volunteers will have different experience levels coming into this trip. Some of them, this is like their 20th trip with CP and they're raring to go and willing to share what they know. Some of them are actually like they might not be as experienced, but this might be their third trip to Pennsylvania this year, because they started back in September and they just haven't stopped, right? So they know
Mhm.
this team really well. But you might also have somebody who has never canvassed before. This is their first door talking to a voter and it's with common power. And then anywhere in between, right? Anywhere in between. So something that we love to do is to just point out experience and new canvassers early on in the trip. And we explicitly ask people to look around and say,
Mhm.
hey, these are the people that you should ask for help, or hey, these are the people that you should be helping, right? So you can expect that definitely from your fellow volunteers. I think the next thing, though, which is separate from experience but a little related, has to do with pacing, has to do with how fast and how, yeah, like literally how fast we go through doors, how much
Mhm.
time we spend at doors, but also how physically fast we walk through a neighborhood. And usually this is not as big of a factor in our other trips, but we're factoring in the last weekend where this is the final push. You want to leave it all out in the field. You want to hit as many people as possible. You want to go until you drop, basically, right? That's the want, right? So this is going to come up a lot more than in other trips with Common Power.
Yeah, we don't
Um,
want you to drop, but you're gonna feel
but
that
you
way.
might feel like you want to drop.
Yeah, yeah. Don't drop. Don't drop anybody.
But yeah, but what does that look like tactically though? If people have different pacing, they want to go longer, they want to go harder than others, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so the what'll happen in the carpools is that one, the team leads are going to start, and this is some of this is for their own time too, but they're going to allow more people to stay with the people that they want to while we're doing carpools. We're also going to solve for speed and energy level, and that's going to, it'll be one way on day one, and it may change by the time you get to day four, and they're going to be paying attention to that. That's why they spend a lot of time doing carpools. But they're going to start to group people up by their speed level, and also, just generally how many hours they can do the work. So even if you're walking slower, if you're going to stay out longer, that'll be something that the team leads will take into account. I think we're talking about in a place like Arizona, where the heat usually means that the debrief is sooner, allowing people to actually go out after debrief is something that we've been talking about. On election day, for sure, there's going to be some cars and some people, and I've been out there knocking on
Yeah,
doors all the way up to the time that it would take somebody to go and get in line
yeah.
before
I
they
mean,
cut off a line. Polls close at 7 or 8, and I'm out there at 6:45, 7:45, being like, the polling location is down the street. If you go now and get in line, they can't, they have to count your vote. So go right now. I know how that feels. So on those days, like, we're going to be allowing
mhm,
people to do that and group up together based on that.
yeah, exactly. So, more to come on that. So it needs to get
Well, hold on.
worked
I
out.
guess so.
And
One more piece of that is that
yeah,
what'll happen is that you'll live discover some of this, and this has already happened on
yes,
some of the trips. So you'll be
yeah,
out, and halfway through a day, you'll be like, half of my car is ready to go home, and the other half is not. And so what'll happen too is that you'll see they'll be live swapping. They'll be like, "Hey, I'm going to go drop off two people, but can we join another car?"
yeah,
Or two cars will mix and become one car instead. So there'll be more room for that. The team leads will know to be okay with that more. And you all, you can ask for that too as volunteers.
Mm-hmm. And don't underestimate the power of communicating on Slack. If like the more you can self-organize while being
Mm,
transparent about it, the better,
yeah.
right? Like if you're card 13 and you're like exactly to that situation, you're like two of my members are ready to go home. Anybody else like need someone to join, right? And just like do that. Or like if you happen to be on turf with another car, like you were set to do a turf together, you can just be like, all right, this is a good time to check in. Who wants to go home? Who wants to stay out? And then you just live swap while you're there and let the team leads know. So
Oh yeah,
the
that's a
more,
good one. Yeah.
yeah. So, mm-hmm. Okay.
The second part of volunteers, and this is going to impact everything else. It's going to impact speed, it's going to impact endurance, it's going to
Yeah.
impact how successful you are on doors, is the increased anxiety level across the board. It's going to affect your team leads. It's going to affect everybody. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we're all feeling it. I think there was an article out about it that was like 70% of adults or Americans or something like that are feeling anxiety about the election. Um,
Right.
you, you're going to feel it especially because you're out here for that reason, because you're talking to voters that are impacted by it directly and mostly in the country because they live in these battleground states. Um, and it's going to impact what you think you can do and what your
Mm-hmm.
team members and car members think that they can do. And that can wildly shift. So just be ready for that, for looking out for that. It could be an interaction at a door where you're just like, this is, it's a great interaction or a terrible one. And that, spikes you in a different direction and people have, less energy. Um, yeah, be patient for that. You got anything on that?
You know, we're barely getting through this stuff. But yeah, so a couple of points. I think if you've taken the training with Devin and Mary in
Yeah.
201, they talk about this limbic flare system, right? Where like if you feel yourself triggered or anything like that, like your prefrontal cortex goes offline, you're more driven by emotion, like you're more raw by different inputs and all of that. And the most important thing here is that like it's contagious. So like if you see somebody or if you even hear about like a stressful situation and they're on guard, you start becoming on guard. So when they talk about that, like if you go up to a voter, like there's a lot of anxiety around the election. It's not just the volunteers, the voters too, to your point. And if a voter is on guard and they're like skeptical or they're even like, I'm so tired, or they're just outright like more confrontational, right? Because they've been bombarded with ads, they've been bombarded with literature, and maybe even you're the 10th door knocker in as many days, you know? So if you're being confronted with conflict right at the start, you might yourself feel like immediately getting defensive, even though that's not your intention or where you want to start out. So I would say the first thing to think about is like knowing your own bodily signals of like, I'm getting defensive, I'm withdrawing, my anxiety levels are spiking, or like my heart rate is elevating, my breathing is a little uneven. Those kind of signs will tell you that like, all right, maybe I need to take a breather. Maybe I need to de-escalate this. Maybe I need to disengage from this. It's not going to be a productive conversation at a door unless I pivot a little bit, right? We're both on edge here. We're causing each other to be more on edge. So that's one. Um, and by contagious, anxiety is contagious too. If you're in a room with really anxious people,
Mm,
you're gonna start to feel anxious yourself, regardless if that's where you wanted to be, right? So it's good to just know that. And we're gonna try our best to name that. It's hard to feel until you've been in the room. But just to Charles's point, like people are going to become more anxious and it's going to show in different ways. People will want to go faster. They feel like they have to hit as many doors as
yeah.
possible to alleviate this anxiety. People are going to feel like why if their work is effective, if they're not having conversations at doors, like I haven't talked to any voter. Why am I out here? I thought this was going to make a difference, right? That's your anxiety speaking.
Hmm.
Um, and somebody might react
Yeah, it's
to
it's your anxiety speaking because the data is actually true the other direction, that it is
right.
effective, it is useful, you are making a difference. Anyways, and we'll get into
Yes.
that.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing too is that like you might get you're more sensitive to things that you might not be regularly, or your partner
Mm,
might be more sensitive to things that they might not be regularly. So you might be in a car, you might be talking about an interaction that you just had, and instead of just like, oh, this happened, I'm feeling some type of way, but I think I'm gonna be okay. I'm just gonna take a minute before we get to the next door. It might be a full on like, I can't believe that happened, all of these things, and it's like derailing the conversation and derailing the car. So in those moments, just know that like you're going to use the same techniques that we teach you in training to open up a conversation with a voter. You're going to do the same with your fellow volunteers. You're going to listen. You're going to be like, check in and say, hey, how are you feeling about the next door then? It seems like you're pretty caught up on this. And then we're
hmm.
going to support each other and figure it out the next best thing. So we're going to go more into
Yeah.
that later. But yeah, that's
Well,
just,
I think that like, after something like that that spikes you, asking to go with somebody is totally cool
yep.
for, for a few doors and just to get yourself back into the groove. The breathing exercises are a big deal. I think they do that in dialogue. What is it, three deep ones or something? Um,
Yeah, 3 deep breaths. It's like in for 4, hold for 2, out for 4, hold for 2.
mhm.
Yeah.
Um, Vanessa mentioned one yesterday, which was you breathe in and then you hum on the way out as you
That's pretty
yeah,
interesting.
as a reset.
Yeah.
As I don't know if I oh yeah, I'm gonna fall asleep. Uh, so
Also,
that's
yes.
peaceful. Yeah, on
Also
the way out.
drinking water. Drinking
Wait,
water helps too.
I got one
You
more.
got one
I
more?
got one more. This
Okay.
is another one. Team Pennsylvania, they got the breathing exercises down. Here's another one. There's another one. I think his name is Rob. He brought this up, but he was every time I talked about breathing exercises, they would like shout out this dude. But he brought one that was somebody else's that he had learned. But it was like you breathe in as much as you can, and then you take another short one at the top and you let out. So you but it's like I feel good. I feel good. But it's like, if you're looking for these ways to reset yourself when you're out there, you're on the road, like you're out in a neighborhood. Maybe you're by yourself and you just had a reaction. So
Yeah.
like you don't have your people aren't right next to you, the car's down here. Like what do you do if it's just you? I think the
Mm-hmm.
breathing things are super, super useful.
Yeah.
Um, okay. So you were talking
Okay.
about some of the interactions at doors. But
Right.
that's the third piece of this, which is that voters they're people too, and so they're going to be feeling the same
Some type of way.
anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you will have been the 100th person to go to their door.
Yeah.
At least
And
that's
why
how they're
is
going to
that?
feel.
Yeah, when why is that? Because like, we've some of us have just like run into people who are trying to canvas the same door as us, actually,
Yep.
right? And we always think about like, well, why are they doing that? I'm here. Don't they share data? Like, don't they know that we're here? Who do I talk to, right? So,
Yeah.
and we've always
Yeah.
had to explain like what's going on.
Yeah. So this is whenever we see that it's always closer to the end, to election day. You start to see more people indoors, more other organizations, unions, 501c4s, 501c3s, maybe they're just kind of getting out the vote in general. Um, uh, PACs or super PACs or something, or sending out
Mm-hmm.
people, maybe paid canvassers, that kind of thing. But everyone's out knocking doors. And um, the interesting thing about voting research is that it's public. Everybody knows not who you vote for, but when you vote, how often you vote, which elections you vote in. And so they know who are the higher propensity voters. They know general demographics that they buy from marketing firms. And so all these organizations independently have arrived at the same voters that they think are going to swing this election, the same zip codes, the same neighborhoods. They all,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just Steve Kornacki and New York Times and stuff. It's also deep, deep data research. So they actually form up their own volunteers. And the reason why we cannot actually all check our own notes is because campaign finance laws separate coordination between candidates and PACs and other entities like 501c3s, 501c4s, and
Super
super
PACs.
PACs. So there's this firewall in the middle where these groups cannot talk to each other. They can't compare notes. They can't say, I'm going to be here, so you go over there. That's actually illegal. So the way that I've started to look at this is that it's actually a good sign when all of our data is pointing to the same place and we're talking to the same voters because we realize that this is how we're going to flip the election. And it's also good that we can't coordinate. Otherwise, you would have, Elon Musk's super PAC and, directly working with Donald Trump, which maybe he is now that I said that out loud. But there would be much more of these shenanigans if we were all allowed to talk to each other and coordinate, and we're not. So that's what you're
Yeah.
seeing. So don't be
Yeah.
frustrated that we're not on the same page because we shouldn't be. You should actually be encouraged that we're as close as we are.
Right. And if you encounter this at doors, feel free to say hi. There's nothing stopping you from saying hi to the other person and
Right.
doing all of that. Just make sure that, a couple things that our canvassers have done, if they are on the coattails of another canvasser or vice versa, they'll just like, you know what, we'll take a break from this turf. We'll come back to it after lunch, or we'll do something else and then come back to it. Because it is frustrating for the voter. You're not gonna have a good interaction if you're
Mhm.
knocking right after the other person, right? So just kind of like take the high road and take a break and come back to it. That's one way. The other
Yep.
way is I've actually gone up to doors with the other canvasser if we're trying to hit the same place. So so it's just like if we're on the same side, it's just the same spiel. So we're just like, here you go, and then you just get 2 for 1. That doesn't line up often though. But we've also had, if I happen to be, if I know that like I'm gonna be the one that's going first and then they're coming after us, I'll just say, here, there's other canvassers coming around, so don't be alarmed if you're gonna get another knock or another ring. Just know that if you tell them that you have voted or that you will vote, you won't be contacted again.
You'll be
So
less likely to be contacted.
less likely, yeah.
Some of
So
these
there.
groups, some of these groups don't keep good data. Um, yes. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So some of the neighborhoods we're going to be knocking on doors in are also going to be possibly frustrating. They're going to be hard to get
Definitely
to.
frustrating.
Definitely
Definitely.
frustrating, you think? Why
I
are they
would say
frustrating?
I think it's a good day if you're in like a quote unquote normal residential area, right? Where it's like easily grid-like blocks and then you're going up a
Sidewalks.
street, sidewalks, going up,
Yeah.
down, all of that. And then like you park a car in the middle, you fan out and then you come back and you get
Hmm.
45 doors done under an hour, like that's a good day.
Yeah.
Um, and we're seeing less and less of that, especially in the swing states. Probably because those easy to canvass, easy to reach voters have already been canvassed.
Yep.
7 days away from election, our partners are pointing our resources to the stones that have yet to be overturned, people that they have yet to make contact with. And I've been telling volunteers that we're scraping the bottom of the barrel. People that we can reach have already been reached and they've been taken off the list. These are the people that people have tried 5 times, and each one of them have been not home, not home, not home, not home. And you're the
Hmm.
sixth person to like see if you're gonna get lucky this time.
Yeah.
Um, and that means that you might be in more gated communities, right? Because gated communities are notoriously hard to get to. It's about comfort level, it's about luck, and it's about like how you navigate that situation. You might be in apartments, right? Apartments are also really hard to get into, and depending on the campaign or the organization, they may have already been phone banked, but it didn't get anywhere, so they're trying to send another person maybe. You might be out in these what we call kind of like parks. So like either mobile home parks or apartment complexes that are really sprawling and hard to navigate and hard to find.
Yeah.
We've gotten some canvassers, like the kind of neighborhoods that canvassers give up once they see, right? Those are the
Hmm.
ones that we're canvassing. So yeah, harder to canvass neighborhoods, harder to reach voters.
Yeah. And we're being asked to go there because we're good.
Mm-hmm.
Because we'll do the doors that other people won't do. So I don't know, if you wanted to knock on doors in a easy neighborhood that has super walkable, that is gonna have, that you're not gonna have to drive a lot, or is not gonna have a gate, then join the thousands and thousands of people in metro areas that are flooding the
Their
offices.
neighborhoods.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
go and do that and see how
yeah,
useful you feel. I guarantee you're gonna get a lot more people who are like, I'm tired of my door being knocked on, and also a lot of people have already voted. Common Power is pushing into the areas that are harder to get, and these are gated communities. These are the tougher doors. These are the confusing doors. Yeah, and that's expect that, please.
yeah, yeah. And the thing about this is that like this is probably the norm the next 7 days, right? And also you're on a team. So you yourself might feel like, you know what, gated communities are a little bit much for me. I feel really terrible, like even being in a place where it's like I know I'm not supposed to be in, right?
Yeah,
Or like this confusing turf is confusing me to the extent where I spent 3 hours here and we've only talked to like 10 doors that we've been able to find, right? So, but and if you were alone, that would have been the end of the day, you know, just pack up and go home and then like do what you need to do, but you're part of a team. So it's perfectly fine for you to say, hey, our car thinks that we're not going to be able to do this gated community. The turf is this XYZ number, right? Anybody want to pick it up? Anybody want to scoop this up for us?
yeah.
Um, and then
Because you know
ask
who's
for
gonna
another
go
turf.
and yeah, you know who's gonna go
Yeah,
and do that turf? Greg. Greg is gonna go and do that turf. There's other people too that are like, I'm gonna sit here and wait for the gate to open and I'm gonna go in. And if they throw
yeah,
me out, that's fine. If they call the cops on me, that's fine. I'm gonna talk to as many voters as possible.
yeah,
And I'm fine with that. And there are different levels of comfort. So
right.
that is one of the great values of like Ben said, knocking on door in a team, is that your comfort level is not the one comfort level. There are different levels, different people specialize in different ways of door knocking. Just like you could go to a door and start different and end different and come up with different
Mm-hmm.
points to talk about. We're going to reach different voters because there's so much diversity of thought and how we're doing this. So yeah, move
Yeah.
on. It's all good.
Move
Okay.
on, make a call, and someone else will do it. All right. So, what's the last thing here?
The last thing is that just general, I mean, the voters themselves are going to be pretty agitated. So there's a voter that you would have talked to 2 weeks ago.
Hmm.
Next week they might be done.
They were kind 2 weeks ago, and now they're
Yeah.
not their kindest selves.
Yeah, they were like, "Hey, I'm gonna vote on election day," and they're not gonna vote. They were like, "I don't want to vote early," and now they're tired of people coming to their door, and they're gonna be a little rougher with you.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be people who are independents and Republicans, registered
Yeah.
Republicans,
Yes.
and these are people that we need to convince to come our way. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe they have decided that they're going to vote for Trump, but they're still on their list, and they're pretty agitated about the fact that there's more Democrats coming to their door.
Yeah.
Where are all
Yeah.
their voters? And so they're gonna, or in their neighborhood, there's gonna, maybe it's not even the door you're
Mm-hmm.
knocking on, or it's not the voter you're looking for. And the folks on the other side are just more, they feel cornered, they feel like they're
Mm-hmm.
losing, and they're just gonna react emotionally different than they did 2 weeks ago. So just like the guidance we gave in the video, um, at the beginning or a couple weeks ago, it is, we think that there's going to be a ratcheting up of agitation on the voter side as we get closer. Our people are not. Our people may be more afraid. Their people may be more agitated and maybe even aggressive. Watch neighborhoods as you walk in. Pay more attention to people walking around or people in cars. And if you feel like you need to pull out
Mm-hmm.
because you think that this place is not going to be a place that's going to be fruitful for canvassing, then you go ahead and make that call, and someone else will come back. The list will be recut the next day, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's such a hard and fine line to balance, really.
Hmm.
Because Yeah, like we don't want to waste our time forcing ourselves to go through a neighborhood that will take someone else like half the time, you know?
Right.
But we also have to recognize that um, we are talking to Democratic supporters, not Democrats. Like that is the distinction for this season.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
and
good.
like, cause like the script, if you look on Minivan, if you look on our talking points all across the country, it's all about getting out the vote of identified supporters. And so while we may be intentionally now being sent to people that we have identified as Democratic supporters this year, they may be living in neighborhoods and households where the ideologies and voting patterns are very different. So
Yeah.
still, you might still have to um, use the 202 training techniques to disengage, de-escalate, figure out what's the best way to go forward with this. Because while now we're being intentionally sent to supporters, they may not be living with supporters.
Mm.
Um, so that's still a factor. And I've been thinking about kind of like uh the ways that we get through that and just understanding that um your willingness to go up to a door and the bravery that it takes to go up to a door, changes with the doors. Like it's a resource that gets
Yeah.
depleted and recharged. So it's another factor to talk to your partners and your cars about. But at the end of the day, like if you're gonna go on a common power trip the next weekend, you gotta pack a tougher skin. Doesn't matter, you gotta pack a tougher skin.
Yeah. That's for voters. That's for
Mm-hmm.
your fellow volunteers.
Yep.
Um, we are going to be more focused on the work and on doing it well than we are on anything else.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I talk about in some spaces, but maybe not broadly, is that community is earned through work.
Mm.
Community is it's a huge piece of common power, but it does not start with community. It actually starts with work, especially in the field. We form community through working together. And so this last week specifically, it will be focus on the work more. Community will come out of it. We will earn that. And the cars will make it organically. Folks will go to dinner, bonds will be built, and by the end, it'll be there. But that's not. We don't go community first. Pause all work. you know, Make sure this thing is solid before we do the work. No, 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 no. We're here to do the work, and the community is going to be built along the way. Um, I guess the last piece of this is that every day is going to change. So
Yep.
whatever kind of expectations you have, whatever rules we set up on one day could change the next day. We could get sent to a different neighborhood. You could get sent to a different, I mean, here in Pennsylvania, there's like different sets of lit and whole different elected officials from one day to another or one turf to another. And that is another sign that we're being sent to the highest and best, use of our skills.
Yeah. And
Like
here's
that is,
why. Here's
yeah,
why. Yeah. So we've been getting a lot of questions about like why are we getting set here? Why is this all the way over there? And like is this really the best use of my time? And it really is because the voter data gets uploaded into Minivan. If the campaign is smart and capable, they're doing it every 24 hours. And if the state
hmm
has early voting, like a robust early voting reporting system, the data is getting refreshed every 24 hours. It's getting inputs from early voting data, from other canvassers that have canvassed people that say they're going to vote and that they have voted. Um, the what we call quote unquote the universe of voters still yet to be contacted by our partners is refreshed every day. If you've been on other trips, you might be wondering, why does it take so long for us to get our list? You usually have it for all the days, like why am I waiting for me to get my turfs? Well, that's because our partners are sending us turfs the night before, like really late the night before, or very early the morning of, because they're
yeah,
waiting for the most current data possible. And that most current data possible tells us where where we need to go to turn out the rest of the voters. We don't want to be
yeah,
sent to a precinct that has a high voter turnout already, even if that was the plan 48 hours ago.
yeah. I mean, it's this thing that just happened in New York. I mean, the the dramatic turn of Puerto Rican voters is
Mm,
this huge data point change all of a sudden, massive. And it happened in New York, and there's a lot of Puerto Rican folks in New York, but 500,000 in Pennsylvania. Do you understand that immediately, as soon as that happened, the turf in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania changed? I forget the name of the city where most of them are, or the county where most of them are congregated. But apparently Trump's going to a rally there because he's super smart. But immediately those doors change. Immediately. That one probably got a same day change. Like if we would have been in that county, we would have immediately been retasked, maybe halfway through
Yeah,
the day
yeah.
to start going into these Puerto Rican neighborhoods. So I mean that's where we're at now. That's what's going on. Be ready for like Ben said, pack your thick skin. It's gonna be it's gonna test you. It's going to be a wildly changing environment. Um, we are still like eternally optimistic about this whole thing. We feel really good. You're going to get some of the most battle-tested leads, volunteers, specialists, staff members, and also fellow volunteers that are actually back because they've been inspired by their knocking on doors in previous weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is it, y'all. This is it. We're here.
Yeah, there's not much. Yeah, yeah, there's really not much left to kind of like talk about. Um, if
Feel
you're
this
in
in
it,
it.
yeah,
No.
if you're in it, we're just in it. We'll see you on the
Okay.
ground. Okay,
That's our video, y'all.
goodbye.
More later.
Okay,
Bye.
bye. Are you stopping it?
How do I stop it?
Upper right hand corner, there's like a little blinky thing. Are you on your app? Or are you
Let
on
me see. Raise
desktop?
hand. No. Pause. Stop. What's this AI thing do? Oh, okay.
Stop it. You said stop already.
Stop. Lower the
Yeah,
hand.
stop. No, you haven't
Bye.
stopped. Okay.